May 18, 1941. Baltic Sea, Germany. A massive shape moved through the fog. It was the largest battleship Germany had ever built. Bismarck. 50,000 tons of steel, 8 15-inch guns, armor thicker than a bank vault. She was leaving port on her first combat mission. Admiral Gunther Lütjens stood on the bridge. He commanded this operation. His mission was simple: break into the Atlantic, hunt British convoys, sink merchant ships, starve Britain into surrender. Lütjens knew the risks. The entire Royal Navy would hunt him. Every battleship, every cruiser, every destroyer. Britain couldn't let Bismarck roam free. She was too dangerous, too powerful, too deadly. But Lütjens believed in his ship. Bismarck was unsinkable. Her designers said so, her builders said so, the Führer himself said so. Nothing could stop her. He was wrong. In 9 days, Bismarck would be at the bottom of the Atlantic. 2,000 men would die with her. The Royal Navy would hunt her across 1,700 miles. They'd throw everything at her: battleships, carriers, cruisers, destroyers, torpedo bombers. Even luck would turn against her. This is the story of the greatest naval chase in history. The hunt for Bismarck, the ship that couldn't be sunk, until she was. The beast leaves her lair. Bismarck wasn't alone. Heavy cruiser Prince Eugen sailed beside her. Together they formed a powerful force, but their mission was dangerous. They had to break through the Denmark Strait, between Iceland and Greenland. British ships patrolled there constantly, waiting for German raiders. The strait was narrow, only 300 miles wide. Ice covered much of it. Fog rolled in thick. Visibility was terrible. Perfect conditions for a breakout attempt. Captain Ernst Lindemann commanded Bismarck herself. He was a professional naval officer, skilled, experienced. But he had doubts. This mission felt rushed. The ship needed more trials. The crew needed more training. They'd barely shaken down. But Hitler wanted results. He wanted Britain hurt. He wanted convoys sunk. So Bismarck sailed, ready or not. On May 21st, Swedish cruiser Gotland spotted them. She radioed their position. The message reached London. British Admiralty went into high alert. The beast was out. The hunt was on. Admiral John Tovey commanded the British Home Fleet. He immediately ordered ships to intercept: battleship HMS Prince of Wales, battlecruiser HMS Hood, cruisers HMS Norfolk and HMS Suffolk. They raced toward the Denmark Strait, unless they had to stop Bismarck, before she reached the convoy routes. Hood was Britain's pride, the largest warship in the Royal Navy, 42,000 tons, 8 15-inch guns. She'd sailed the world. She'd shown the flag. Everyone knew Hood. Everyone loved Hood. She was invincible, or so people thought. But Hood had a weakness. Her deck armor was thin, built after World War I, designed to fight close-range battles, not long-range duels. Plunging shells could penetrate her deck, reach her magazines, blow her apart. Bismarck and Prince Eugen pushed north, through Norwegian waters, past the Arctic Circle toward the Denmark Strait. The weather got worse. Snow fell. Ice formed on the deck. The sea was rough. Visibility was near zero. Perfect for a breakout, or so they thought. First blood in the Denmark Strait. May 23rd. Early evening. Cruisers Norfolk and Suffolk found them. Bismarck and Prince Eugen were steaming through the strait, close to the ice. The British cruisers shadowed them. They stayed at extreme range. They radioed positions constantly. They guided Hood and Prince of Wales to the target. Lütjens knew he'd been spotted, but he couldn't shake the cruisers. They had radar, new technology. They could track him in darkness, in fog, in snow. There was no escape. He could only push forward. hope to break through, hope to reach the Atlantic before the heavy ships arrived. But Hood was already close, very close. Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland commanded Hood. He pushed his ships hard, 28 knots through rough seas. Water crashed over the bows. Spray froze on the guns. The crews were exhausted, but they kept going. Holland wanted to engage at dawn, catch the Germans in bad light, close the range quickly, use Hood's superior speed, end the threat fast, May 24th. 5:30 a.m. The two forces spotted each other. Range was 25,000 yards, 13 miles. Too far for accurate shooting, but Holland ordered his ships to engage anyway. Hood and Prince of Wales turned toward the enemy. They wanted to close the range, get into effective gun range, finish this quickly. But this maneuver had a fatal flaw. While turning toward Bismarck, only their forward guns could fire. Half their firepower was useless. Bismarck could fire full broadsides, all 8 guns at once. At 5:52 a.m., Bismarck opened fire. Her shells took 20 seconds to arrive. They fell around Hood. Massive columns of water rose, white, towering, terrifying. Hood fired back. Her shells screamed across the water. They fell short. She adjusted aim, fired again. The range closed rapidly. 20,000 yards, 18,000, 16,000. The shells got more accurate, more dangerous. Prince of Wales joined the battle. She fired at Bismarck, but she was so new. Her guns weren't working properly. They jammed. They misfired. Civilian workers were still aboard, fixing problems. She was sailing into battle half-finished. Holland ordered a turn, to unmask Hood's rear guns, to bring full firepower to bear. Hood began turning, port side toward Bismarck. At 5:59 a.m., Bismarck fired her 5th salvo, 8 15-inch shells, each weighing a ton. They flew through the air. 14 miles, 23 seconds of flight time. One shell hit Hood near the mainmast. It plunged down through the thin deck armor. It penetrated deep inside. It reached the aft magazine, where 400 tons of cordite sat waiting. The magazine exploded. A pillar of flame shot 500 feet into the air. The explosion split Hood in two. Her back broke. Her bow rose up. Her stern rose up. The middle section simply disappeared, vaporized. 3 minutes later, Hood was gone. She'd capsized. She'd sunk. She took 1,400 men with her. Only 3 survived. Prince of Wales saw the whole thing. The crew was horrified. Their companion had just died in seconds. From one lucky hit, they were next. Prince of Wales kept fighting, but her guns kept jamming. She scored 3 hits on Bismarck. Then 7 shells hit her in return. Her bridge was damaged. Men died. Captain John Leach made a hard choice. Break off, fall back. Live to fight another day. Prince of Wales turned away. She disappeared into the mist. Bismarck had won. She'd sunk Hood. She'd damaged Prince of Wales. The pride of the Royal Navy was dead. But Bismarck was hurt too. 2 hits from Prince of Wales, 1 forward, 1 below the waterline. Fuel oil was leaking. Seawater was entering. Speed was reduced. Lutyens made a decision. Abort the mission. Head for France. Get repairs. Try again later. He turned Bismarck south, toward occupied France, toward Saint-Nazaire, toward safety, or so he hoped. The Navy hunts news of Hood's sinking shocked Britain. The unsinkable ship was gone, blown apart in minutes, 1,400 men dead. It was a disaster, a humiliation, a tragedy. Churchill was furious. He sent a signal to every British ship. 2 words: sink Bismarck. Every available warship converged on the German battleship, from all directions. Admiral Tovey aboard King George V Rodney from convoy escort duty. Ark Royal with her torpedo bombers. Renown, Sheffield. Dozens of destroyers. Force H from Gibraltar. The entire Royal Navy wanted revenge. For Hood, for 1,400 dead sailors, for British pride. But first they had to find her. Suffolk and Norfolk still shadowed Bismarck. They tracked her by radar. They reported positions. Tovey plotted an intercept course. He pushed his ships hard. King George V raced south. So did Rodney. But Bismarck was fast. Even damaged, she made 24 knots. The British ships struggled to keep up. Tovey worried. If Bismarck reached France, she'd escape. Under Luftwaffe air cover, behind U-boat screens, she'd slip away. On May 24th at 6 p.m., Lütjens made a mistake. He sent a long radio message to Berlin to inform them of the battle, to report Hood's sinking. British listening stations heard it. They took bearings. They triangulated his position. They knew where Bismarck was. Tovey adjusted course. That night, destroyers attacked. They came in waves. They launched torpedoes. Bismarck dodged them all. Her crew was exhausted. They'd been at action stations for 24 hours. No sleep, no rest, just constant danger. At 3 a.m. on May 25th, something happened. Suffolk lost radar contact. Bismarck had disappeared. Tovey was worried. Had she turned, changed course, headed somewhere else? For 31 hours, Bismarck was missing. The Royal Navy searched frantically. Planes flew patterns. Ships spread out. Nothing. The ocean had swallowed her. Tovey made wrong guesses. He thought Bismarck was heading back to Germany. He sent ships north. He was wrong. Bismarck was still heading south, toward France. Every hour she got closer to safety. But then luck intervened. A Catalina flying boat spotted her. 900 miles from France. Still heading south. But she'd been found again. The hunt resumed. Tovey calculated distances. His battleships couldn't catch her. Not before she reached France. Not before Luftwaffe air cover arrived. He needed to slow her down, damage her, stop her. He had one weapon that could do it. Torpedo bombers. Carrier Ark Royal was in range, just barely. Tovey sent orders. Launch everything. Hit Bismarck, slow her down. Give the battleships time to arrive. The lucky hit. May 26th, 2 p.m., Swordfish torpedo bombers took off from Ark Royal. 15 planes, old biplanes, fabric and wood. They looked antique, like something from World War I. But they were tough, they were reliable, and they carried deadly torpedoes. The weather was terrible. Rain, wind, low clouds, waves 40 feet high. Ark Royal pitched and rolled. Launching planes was dangerous. Landing would be worse. The Swordfish found a ship on radar. They attacked. They dropped torpedoes. The ship shot back. It had a lot of anti-aircraft guns. The planes barely escaped. Then they realized their mistake. They'd attacked Sheffield, their own ship, not Bismarck. By pure luck, none of the torpedoes hit, or exploded. They all missed, or malfunctioned. The pilots returned to Ark Royal, embarrassed, furious with themselves. They'd wasted torpedoes. They'd nearly killed their own people, but they'd learned something. The magnetic detonators on the torpedoes didn't work. They went off too soon, or not at all. The pilots switched to contact detonators. Old-fashioned, reliable. Had to actually hit the target. At 7 p.m. they launched again. 15 Swordfish. Into darkness, into wind, into rain. They found Bismarck. They attacked from all directions. To split her defenses, to confuse her gunners. Bismarck's anti-aircraft guns opened up. Tracers filled the sky. Shells exploded. One plane was hit. It crashed. The crew died. The other 14 pressed on. They dropped their torpedoes. From close range, 600 yards. They turned away hard. They escaped into the clouds. Most torpedoes missed. Bismarck's captain maneuvered brilliantly. He dodged them, one after another, left, right, full rudder. The big ship danced. She avoided death. Again and again, but then one torpedo hit, port side, near the stern. It exploded against the armor. The armor held, no penetration, no damage. The crew cheered. But then Bismarck started turning. To port. The rudder wouldn't respond. The helm was jammed. The ship kept turning in circles. She couldn't steer. That one torpedo had done terrible damage. Not to the armor, to the steering gear. The rudder was stuck. Hard to port. Nothing could free it. Divers went down. They couldn't fix it. The water was too rough, the sea too violent. Bismarck was crippled. She could only sail in circles. She couldn't reach France. She couldn't escape. She could only wait for the British battleships, for death. Lütjens sent a message to Berlin. Ship unmaneuverable. We will fight to the last shell. Long live the Führer. He knew what was coming. They all knew. The final battle. May 27th. Dawn. 2 British battleships found Bismarck. King George V. Rodney. They'd been chasing her for 3 days. 1,700 miles, through storms, through U-boat zones, through everything. Now they had her. She was wounded. She was slow. She couldn't maneuver. She was doomed. Bismarck's crew prepared for battle. They knew they'd die, but they'd die fighting. They loaded the guns. They manned the stations. They waited. At 8:47 a.m., Rodney opened fire. From 23,000 yards, 12 miles. Her shells took nearly 30 seconds to arrive. They fell around Bismarck, huge splashes, near misses. King George V joined in. Her 10 14-inch guns roared. More shells, more splashes. The range was still long. Too long for accuracy. Bismarck fired back. Her forward gun still worked. She aimed at Rodney. Her shells were accurate, very accurate. They straddled the British ship. One salvo fell short. The next fell over. The third would hit. But it didn't come. A British shell had hit Bismarck's forward fire control. Her gunnery director was destroyed. Her forward guns could still fire. But they couldn't aim properly. They fired blind. They missed. The British ships closed the range. 18,000 yards, 16,000, 14,000. Their shells got more accurate. They hit more often. At 9 a.m., a shell penetrated Bismarck's forward turret. The turret was destroyed. The guns went silent. More shells hit. They smashed the superstructure. They killed men by the dozens. They started fires. But Bismarck's armor held. Her belt armor was 12 inches thick. British shells couldn't penetrate at this angle. They just bounced off, or exploded on the surface. The ship remained afloat, still fighting, still dangerous. The British ships closed even more. 12,000 yards, 10,000, 8,000. Point-blank range for battleships. They couldn't miss now. Shells poured into Bismarck. Hundreds of them. 14-inch, 16-inch. They tore the superstructure apart. They destroyed everything above deck. The ship was a floating wreck, on fire from stem to stern, but she still wouldn't sink. Her armor was too thick. Her compartmentalization was too good. She just absorbed punishment, shell after shell, hit after hit. By 10:15 a.m., Bismarck was a burning hulk. Every gun was silent, every fire director destroyed. The crew was dead or dying. The ship was dead in the water, but she still floated. Tovey was running low on fuel. He'd been at sea for days. He ordered his battleships home, but he left cruisers behind. Norfolk, Dorsetshire. They closed in, they finished the job. Dorsetshire fired torpedoes. From 3,000 yards, they hit Bismarck's side. 2, 3, 4 torpedoes. Massive explosions. Still she floated. German survivors say they scuttled her. They opened the seacocks. They set demolition charges. They sank their own ship, rather than let the British take her. At 10:39 a.m., Bismarck rolled over, to port. Her bottom faced the sky, red, rusty. She hung there for a moment. Then she slid beneath the waves. Stern first. She took 2,000 men with her. Out of a crew of 2,200, only 115 survived. Dorsetshire and another ship picked them up. Then a U-boat alarm sounded. The British ships fled. They left hundreds of men in the water, swimming, drowning, dying. Most of those men drowned, or froze, or were taken by sharks. A German weather ship found 5 more. Days later, that was all. 120 men out of 2,200. Lutyens went down with the ship. So did Captain Lindemann. Both chose death over capture. Both stayed aboard to the end. The legend and the truth. The sinking of Bismarck became legend. The ship that couldn't be sunk. Until she was. The greatest naval chase in history. 1,700 miles, 3 days. Dozens of ships. Hundreds of aircraft. Britain hunted her with everything. Battleships, carriers, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, flying boats, shore-based bombers. Nothing was held back. Everything was thrown at her. And in the end, one torpedo did what nothing else could. A lucky hit by an obsolete biplane on the steering gear. It crippled the unsinkable ship. It stopped her cold. It sealed her fate. The Royal Navy fired 400 shells at Bismarck in the final battle. 16-inch shells, 14-inch shells. At close range, many hit, but they didn't sink her. Her armor was too good, her compartments too strong. She was built to survive. In the end, torpedoes finished her, or scuttling charges, or both. Historians still debate it. British accounts say torpedoes sank her. German survivors say they scuttled her. Maybe both are true. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is this. Bismarck sailed on her first mission. It was also her last. She sank Hood. She humiliated the Royal Navy, but she paid the price. The entire British fleet hunted her. They found her. They killed her. Her loss shocked Germany. Hitler was furious. He blamed the Navy. He blamed Lutyens. He blamed everyone. But really, he should have blamed himself for sending her out too soon, with too little support, on a mission she couldn't complete. After Bismarck, the German surface fleet rarely sailed. The big ships stayed in port, in Norway, in Germany. Hitler was afraid of losing them, so he kept them safe, which made them useless. The Royal Navy dominated the Atlantic after Bismarck. Convoys sailed with confidence. U-boats were the main threat now. Not surface raiders, not battleships, just submarines. Bismarck's wreck was found in 1989 by Robert Ballard, the same man who found Titanic. She sits 15,000 feet down, on the side of an underwater mountain, in 3 pieces, the bow, the stern, the shattered middle. Her guns point upward, at the surface, at the light, at nothing. Rust covers everything. But you can still see her power, her size, her menace. 2,000 men died there, young men, German sailors, doing their duty, following orders. They died for nothing. Their ship sank 1 British battlecruiser. Then she died herself. 9 days of life, that was all. Was it worth it? The loss of Hood? The loss of Bismarck? 2,300 British dead. 2,000 Germans dead. 2 capital ships sunk. Countless resources expended. Probably not. Hood shouldn't have been sent. She was too old, too vulnerable. Bismarck shouldn't have sailed. She wasn't ready. Her mission was impossible. But war is full of mistakes, of bad decisions, of wasted lives. Bismarck's story is one more, a tale of hubris, of pride, of a ship called Unsinkable. That sank anyway. The Royal Navy learned lessons about deck armor, about radar, about air power. Hood's death wasn't meaningless. It taught Britain what not to do, how to build better ships, how to fight better battles. Germany learned nothing. Hitler kept his big ships in port. They rotted there, bombed by the RAF, scuttled at war's end, Tirpitz, Scharnhorst, Gneisenau, all wasted, all pointless. Britain ruled the waves through 1941, 42, 43, until war's end. The Atlantic was British water. Convoys sailed, supplies arrived, Britain survived, then Britain won. Bismarck's ghost haunts the Atlantic, at 15,000 feet, in darkness, in cold, a monument to waste, to pride, to the cost of war. Her story reminds us. No ship is unsinkable, no plan is perfect, no victory is certain. You can build the biggest ship, the strongest armor, the most powerful guns, but luck matters too. And one torpedo, in the right place, at the right time, can change everything. The Royal Navy got lucky. That torpedo hit the steering gear, not the armor, not the hull, the one place that mattered. If it had hit anywhere else, Bismarck might have escaped, reached France, survived to fight again, but it didn't. It hit perfectly, crippled her completely, doomed her totally. That's the story of Bismarck, the unsinkable ship. That one torpedo sank, the mightiest battleship, that 3 days killed, the pride of Germany that the Atlantic swallowed. She sailed on May 18th, she died on May 27th. 9 days of life, 9 days of war, 9 days that changed naval history, forever. If you want to hear more incredible stories from World War II at sea, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that like button if this story amazed you. Drop a comment telling us what naval battle we should cover next, because history is full of incredible tales, of courage, of sacrifice, of ships and sailors who fought and died in the greatest war the world has ever known.